Bakhadyo, Kathmandu School of Law teaching faculty. Currently, I am related and associate with Kathmandu School of Law as a teaching faculty for the subject of criminal law and justice. आज हामीले डिस्कसन गर्ने टपिक भनेको रिलेटिभ लाइबिलिटी, वान अफ द लाइबिलिटिजमा एउटा लाइबिलिटीको आज हामी डिस्कसन गर्दैछौँ. सो स्टार्टिङ अफ विथ रिलेटिभ लाइबिलिटी. रिलेटिभ लाइबिलिटी सुरु गर्नुभन्दा अगाडि लेट्स मुभ अन विथ सर्टेन वर्ड्स. Certain words ko kura garदाखेरि when we talk about the duty, in the same way there we do have the obligation and then come with the liabilities. So first of all, when we come with the duties, it's obviously related with the rights. Okay, it is related with the rights. Rights mean we do have certain rights that can be claimed, that can be our power, or that can be even privileges as well. Whereas when it come up with the duty, rights and duty are always correlated with each other. Right? We do have rights and duties together, so this is the duty. Well, the next term is about the obligation. When we talk about the obligation, it's generally like it's sort of duty, but exactly not duty. So when obligation come up, we generally talk with the state obligation. Mean to say that तपाईको र मेरो ड्युटी छ, त्यस्तै गरेर स्टेटको हामी प्रति कुनै अब्लिगेशन्सहरु हुन्छ. भनेको ह्युमन राइट पर्सपेक्टिभबाट कुरा गर्दाखेरि स्टेटको अब्लिगेशनको कुरा गर्छौं र स्टेट अब्लिगेशन we can divide it into three. First one is especially with the respect. Then we talk about the protection, or we talk about the protect. Then next is about the fulfill. So whenever simply talking about the three types of the obligation mean respecting, mean to say that कि state ले हाम्रो rights को respect गर्ने उसको obligation हुन्छ. Next भनेको protect. यहाँ state र we as a human को कुरा आउँछ भने there is a direct relationship. Whereas in the protection there come with the state and then come up with the third party and then come up with we people, right? So when we talk about the protection, it is protection from the third party, right? State ko त्यो obligation हुन्छ. So fulfill ko situation यस्तो हुन्छ. It is also the direct relation between state and we people, right? State and we people direct relation हो. तर यो situation कहिले हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि when people are not able to fulfill their needs by themselves. Basically it comes up with the basic needs. Basic needs भनेपछि we talk about the foods, we talk about the shelter, and we talk about the basic things which we require. So it is about the fulfill. So obligation भन्ने बित्तिकै हामी यो तीनटा कुरालाई बुझ्छौं. Well, then when we come up with the liabilities further we can divide into civil and then we can divide it into criminal. So when actually liability कहिले arise हुन्छ त भन्ने कुरा हुन्छ. Right? अब when we come up with the liabilities भन्दाखेरि we will come up with the liabilities. One thing is when we actually one does not accomplish, mean to say that when somebody is not doing that very act. Next thing is when somebody does that very thing. But when भन्दाखेरि is as provided by the law. Is it provided by law or not? So simply when we talk about the liabilities and liabilities लाई divide गर्दाखेरि civil र criminal मा divide गर्छौं. र त्यो दुवै liabilities कहिले arise हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि जब law ले provide गरेको केही कुरा गर्दैन वा नगर भनेको कुरा केही गर्छ भने then come up with the liability part. Okay, the next one is liabilities को criminal liabilities विशेष गरेर criminal liabilities को when we come up with the types. Okay, when we come up with the types, we have divided it into four. Normally, literatures inchoate liability is also included in the relative liability. But now we can separate it because we can also say inchoate offenses as a separate offenses. So we can divide it, right? But generally, it is divided into relative, strict, vicarious liabilities, whereas we can also divide it now as an inchoate liability. Simply saying, relative mean there are both mens rea and actus reus. When we talk about the strict liability, it only talk about act, or we can say the actus reus. Vicarious liability mean it is transfer of liability. Okay, it's transfer of liabilities. Mean to say that it is done by somebody, but yet their obligation is to fulfill the obligation, or the liability is borne by some other. So today, basically, as हामी discussion गर्दैछौँ about the relative liability. And when we talk about the relative liability, we are majorly focused on two elements. They are okay. So when we talk about the relative liabilities, we do have two terminologies or two elements which we have to take into consideration. One is mens rea and another is actus reus. Simply भन्नुपर्दाखेरि mens rea can be intention, with intention, meaning that it is with full intention and with knowledge about something is going to be happen. Here we need to understand about the consequence. We just said that with intention mean the person is aware about the consequence and the person is doing the very act to get that consequence. Okay. The next one is recklessness. Recklessness ma pani कुरा आउँछ consequence को. Here, consequence, he or she is aware about the consequence, but actually he or she is not intended to get that consequence. Rather, he or she think to avoid that consequence. He or she will be able to avoid that consequence one example, the person will be doing that. Then it is recklessness. Whereas in negligence, the person is not aware about the consequence. We need to say that may happen, but he or she is not aware about it. And furthermore, one more thing we need to take into consideration is standard of care. We need to say that a reasonable person. Will a reasonable person do that very thing? So in this context, we can also say about the sane person. Mean, जसलाई आफूले के गरिरहेछु भन्ने कुराको राम्ररी जानकारी छ उनले गर्ने कुरा भयो. सो नेग्लिजेन्स कस्तो हकमा हुन्छ त सेन मान्छे भएको अवस्थामा रिजनेबल थट्स भएको मान्छेले त्यस्तो गर्छ कि गर्दैन भन्ने कुरा हुन्छ. सो मेन्स रेलाई हामी फर्दर यसरी डिभाइड गर्न सक्छौँ. Intention, recklessness, negligence. And one more is about the knowledge. Is a person aware about the knowledge or the person is aware about it or not? हामीले नेपाली कानुनी प्रावधानमा हेर्यौं भने नलेजलाई कसरी टर्म गरेको छ त जानी भन्ने टर्म युज गरिएको छ. So here come up with either the person is doing the very particular act with intention or with reckless mens rea or with negligence or with knowledge about the very consequence, right? So sabai kuralai, including these things, we also need to think about transfer of malice. Here coming up with the malice means obviously intent. Okay, transfer malice is obviously intent. Mean transfer of malice mean कसै प्रति टार्गेट गरेको थियो तर त्यो टार्गेट अरु कसैमा ट्रान्सफर भयो. Simply we can have example. There is a person, here is another person, he is attacking the very person. Let's see A and B. A ले B लाई अट्याक गर्न खोज्यो तर अनफर्चुनेटली B त्यहाँबाट गयो र कसलाई लाग्यो त यहाँ अर्को मान्छे बसेको छ C. उलाई लाग्यो भने के भयो उसको टार्गेट यो थियो यहाँबाट यहाँ ट्रान्सफर भयो. Malice त्यही छ, but the only thing is it has been transferred, right? So in the relative liabilities we always talk about the mens rea. There should be mens rea. The should be mens rea मा it can either or. जो जुनै पनि mens rea part हुन सक्यो तर के चाहियो त mens rea चाहियो. Next thing is the actus reus. Obviously it is the act. Act can be stated as a commission, it can be commission, it can be omission, it can be state of affairs as well. So when we talk about the commission, it is accomplishment of very certain act. जस्तो यही example मा A ले B लाई टार्गेट गरेको थियो त्यो मेन इन्टेन्सन थियो mens rea पार्ट थियो तर A ले B लाई टार्गेट गर्दा यदि हिट गर्यो right hit गरिसक्यो भने that hitting part is said to be the act. It is done. Mean to say that it is accomplished or commission. Now next thing is about the omission. Especially omission को कुरा गरिरहँदाखेरि it is relating to something to be done but the person is not doing that. That गरौँ something is to be done, the person is not doing that. For example, A, B and C. These three people are going together. Here A is a mom, B is a child and C is a pet. So in this context, a mom is always responsible to protect a child. इफ यदि आमाले बच्चालाई प्रोटेक्ट गर्न चुक्यो भने that will be omission. A simple example can be स्विमिङ पुलमा यदि कुनै बच्चा तैरिराखेको छ भने अरू बाँकी मान्छेको भन्दा त्यहाँ रेस्पोन्सिबिलिटी कसको ज्यादा हुन्छ त आमाको हुन्छ. यदि आमाले आफ्नो बच्चाको टेक केयर गर्न मिस गर्यो भने द्याट विल बी ओमिसन. गरेन, राइट, एक्ज्याक्टली गर्नुपर्ने कुरा गरेन, द्याट इज ओमिसन. नाउ स्टेट अफ अफेयर्स. State of affairs talk about the creating a situation, so why the act will be committed. Mean to say that direct involvement देखिदैन, तर direct involvement नदेखिदा पनि त्यो context र situation create गर्ने कामलाई हामी state of affairs भन्छौँ. जस्तो एले बीलाई मार्ने टार्गेट गरेको छ, बीलाई एले सिधै पोइजन खुवाएको छैन, उसको खानेकुरामा पोइजन मिसाएर गइदिएको छ. बीको सीन अफ क्राइममा याद गरौँ है, सीन अफ क्राइममा बीको एक्जिस्टेन्स छैन, ऊ त्यहाँ देखिँदैन, तर उसले गरेको एक्ट के भइरहेछ त एले बीलाई जे टार्गेट गरेको छ त्यही सीन अफ क्राइम क्रिएट गरेर ऊ त्यहाँबाट निस्केको छ भने that will be amounting to be state of affairs. So simply we can say that in relative liability we need mens rea and then we need actus reus. If mens rea and actus reus are not together, then it will not be mens rea, it will not be relative liability. So here we can move ahead with, just like हामीले यहाँ देख्यौं भने there we do have mens rea, then let's see, plus mean add actus reus. When mens rea plus actus reus will be there, then it is a crime, or it is a crime as per a relative liability. But in that context, we should not forget the general defense. Mean to say that mens rea छ, actus reus छ, तर माइनस के हुनुपर्छ त general defense हुनुपर्छ. General defense को हकमा we do have lots of general defenses as per the law. For example, insanity को defense, right? Insanity means the person who is not sane. And remember, having a mental health issue is not insanity. Insanity means the one who actually cannot think about the consequence, or he or she is not knowledgeable about what is going to happen. The next one can be the infancy. Infancy को हकमा it is specially relating to the juvenile justice. Juvenile justice को कुरा गर्दाखेरि if we see the CRC को general comment 24 ले 14 years भनिराखेको छ. But here, as per our law, up to the age of 10 years, the person is totally immune, right? अघि फर्स्टमा हामीले जब राइट्स को कुरा र ड्युटी को कुरा गरेको थियो त्यति बेला पनि भनेको थियो immunity is one of the right. So here coming up with the infancy, general defense mean to say that the person below the age of 10 is completely immune from the any kind of criminal liability. So in this context, mens rea, actus reus or general defense को कुरा गर्दाखेरि you can simply see the cases in which we can see there is mens rea, there is actus reus, but still there is general defense as well. The case can be of the Navin Bhuzel. In this case, 8 years old kid was killed. He was killed by 11 years old boy. Here, the context is the victim is minor. In the same way, a perpetrator is also a minor. Yet, the person is not completely immune as he has already crossed the age of 10, but still, he is getting the defense. Because, हाम्रो Child Right Act ले के भन्छ त, below the age of 18, right? Below the age of 18 को उनीहरूले के पाउँछ त, immunity पाइरहेको हुन्छ. Below the age of 10 ले complete immunity. Whereas 10 to 14, 14 to 16 र 16 to 18 को आफ्नो तरिकाले punishment mitigate गरेको छ. So here, when we talk about the relative liability, we should focus on the mens rea part. Then we have to talk about the actus reus, if it is there or not. Then, when there is mens rea and actus reus, then now we have to think about if there is a general defense part or not. यदि general defense छ भने, that will not be crime. तर यदि general defense part छैन, okay? यदि general defense part छैन भने, that will be regarding to be the crime. So this is the very crux which we need to think about the relative liability. Well, so then coming ahead, if we move ahead, then we can say that अब कुन बेसिसमा crime को relative liability लाई हामी describe गर्छौं त, कसरी थाहा पाउने त भन्दाखेरि we will be dividing it into two parts, especially single enterprise and group enterprise. यो एउटा छ single enterprise, अर्को छ group enterprise. Mean to say that this is one person committing a crime, whereas this is more than one person committing a crime. So normally group enterprise is not equal to organized crime. So organized crime ma pani group ta huncha, तर every organized crime are not group crime, or vice versa. We can say that every group crime are not organized crime. So here, coming to the point is, what will happen in case of the single enterprise and group enterprise? So in a single enterprise, we start off with the part is intention. We need to say that Mr. A is intending to kill someone, then this is the intention part. It is inside the mind. Remember, right? It is inside the mind. Mean Mr. A has something in his mind. He is planning to do something, and the next one is preparation. It is also within the mind. This is inside the mind. So no other people will be aware about this, or no other people might be even think about कि Mr. A is going to kill someone अथवा Mr. A is going to sell someone भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ हुँदैन. So next one is attempt. Attempt here we talk about it is itself an inchoate offense. It is itself an inchoate offense, but whereas attempt को phase मा भनेपछि के भयो त, अब उले targeted person लाई केही गरिसकेको हुनुपर्छ. So intention दिमाग भित्र छ, preparation दिमाग भित्र छ, र attempt को कुरा आउँछ. Attempt को कुरा गर्दाखेरि always we need to think or remember that it should be unequivocal. Just though I do have a pen in my hand, the pen can be used as a weapon. In the same way, the pen can be used as a writing material. So अब जब यो पेन मेरो हातमा छ भने यो पेन हातमा हुनु आफैमा के होइन त अटेम्प्ट होइन, तर मैले यो पेन यदि कसैलाई मार्ने टार्गेटले कसैलाई हानिसकेको छु अथवा हान्न लागेको छु भने there it come to the attempt. So it should be unequivocal. The last one is the commission of the crime. Phase यो फेजमा we also simply say it as a 4 phases of crime. 4 phases of crime. So somebody thinking about it, somebody preparing to do that, somebody has attempted it, and then finally accomplished or committed it. So these will be the 4 phases. So here, in this part and this part, there will be no criminal liability. But whereas, if it comes to the attempt and then commission, then arise with the liability part. Okay, यहाँबाट मात्र liability part arise हुन्छ, त्यो भन्दा अगाडि यो दुईटा फेजमा liability part arise हुँदैन. अब अर्को कुरा, त्यसो भए group enterprise मा के हुन्छ त? If we see the group enterprise, then group enterprise मा भन्नलाई 4 phase भनिन्छ. तर यो 4 phase के गरेको छ त? Preparation छ, attempt छ, commission छ. यो तीनटा phase single enterprise मा जे छ यो यहाँ पनि त्यही नै छ. तर the difference is here. Incitement, conspiracy, and division of the work. So when we talk about the group, there are more than 1 people. It can be 2, it can be 3, or hundreds as well. So here, incitement is always done by somebody to some other person for what? To commit crime. Okay? To commit crime, उसले के गरेको छ त incite गरिरहेछ. So simply हेर्दाखेरि A ले B लाई कसैलाई crime commit गर्नको लागि motivate गरेछ. तर motivate भन्दाखेरि it may sounds positive, but here incitement is always a negative part. So यसलाई हामी के भन्छौं? दुरुत्साहन. Okay? कसैलाई कुनै crime commit गर्नलाई motivate गरिरहेछ, गर न त भनेर उक्साइरहेछ भने that will be incitement. So here A is there, so B is there, and C is the victim. Okay? C चाहिँ victim छ भने के गरिरहेछ त? A ले B लाई के गर्न मोटिभेट गरिरहेछ? C लाई victimize गर्नको लागि. Look. So here the main perpetrator is B. Okay? Main perpetrator is B. र कसले गरिरहेछ? A ले गरिरहेछ. के गर्नलाई? C लाई victimize गर्नलाई. So if we see here, then the direct involvement is seen by the B. But yet the one who actually incite someone is A. Right? So यो पनि हुन सक्ने भयो group enterprise मा. Next भनेको conspiracy. अब incitement मा A ले B लाई motivate गरेको छ, incite गरेको छ भने let's come with the conspiracy. Conspiracy को हकमा A, B, C. They stay together, conspire together for what? For the purpose of committing crime. That crime can be anyone. So conspire गर्दाखेरि के हुने भयो त, they will be that very plan inside their mind is now in the open play. So A ले सुरु गरेको हुन सक्छ सोच्न, तर त्यो कसरी भयो त, उले B लाई र C लाई गरेको हुन सक्यो. So A is sharing his idea to B and C, and B and C are okay with the idea and they are adding up on it. Simply, मैले तपाईलाई यो crime commit गरौँ is not conspiracy. When you come to me and we stay together, we started to make planning, then after it will turn to the conspiracy. So for the purpose of conspiracy, every one of them, okay, every one of them have their own point of view. Sometimes they may be the one who is listening to it without any contribution, but sometimes it can be the one who actually is contributing to make more plans, right? This will be the conspiracy. Conspiracy लाई further हामी divide गर्न सक्छौं. Like it can be will conspiracy, it can be we can simply say that it can be will conspiracy, it can be aligned conspiracy, right? So conspiracy गर्दाखेरि अनि अर्को छ chain conspiracy. So when we talk about the line, it is a simple conspiracy. ठीक छ? It is a simple conspiracy. I mean, you and I come together, we stay together and conspire to commit certain crime. That is simple or line. Then after chain conspiracy, I will be making up planning, conspiring. I will be chaining up with the other. So secret just this will be the chain conspiracy. Next one is about the will conspiracy. If we see the will conspiracy, then we can simply see about there is a circle, there is a boss here, and here are lots of other people in the wheel. So cycle ko chakka jastai huncha, or any other chakka. So this will be the head, okay? This will be the head, and he will be having, or she will be having direct communication with these people. So this, and this. Simply say A, B, and C. A knows B, B knows C. But here the problem is D, or A ले D लाई नचिन्ने probability धेरै हुन्छ. So conspiracy को हकमा त्यो कुरा हुने भयो. So it can either or be. So conspiracy को हकमा पनि there is a liability. It is also a inchoate offense, whereas incitement pani ke ho ta inchoate offense. Well, now coming up with the division of the labor. Division of the labor ma, when we are having a 4 or more than 4 people or 2 or more than 2 people, then A le ke गर्ने, B le ke गर्ने, C le ke गर्ने ta भन्ने कुरा division of labor ma हुन्छ. So division of the labor गर्दाखेरि someone may be the one who is making a plan and making a target area. म यहाँ बस्छु त यहाँ बस भन्ने मान्छे हुन सक्यो. कसैले चाहिँ म गाडी खोल्छु तिमी भागेर आऊ म गाडी चलाउँछु भन्ने मान्छे हुन सक्यो. So there will be the division of work. But so यो तीनटा phases को कुरा गर्दाखेरि when we talk till the division of the labor, अहिले सम्म के भएको छैन त, यहाँ attempt र commission भइसकेको छैन. यहाँ यो गर्ने मात्र भएको छ. Now preparation. So when it comes up with the preparation, अब यहाँ हुन्छ कुनै वेपन युज गर्ने अथवा किडन्यापिङ गरेर ह्युमन ट्राफिकिङ गर्ने or hostage-मा राखेर ransom money लिने के गर्ने त भन्ने अब यहाँ प्रिपरेसन सुरु हुन थाल्छ. मान्छे मार्ने हो भने खुकुरीले मार्ने कि गन शट गर्ने, राइट? अनि ह्युमन ट्राफिकिङ गर्ने हो भने कुन ठाउँको मान्छेलाई टार्गेट गर्नेलाई अब प्रिपरेसन सुरु. जस्तो सिन्धुपाल्चोकको मान्छेलाई गर्ने हो भने सिन्धुपाल्चोक जानलाई कति टाइम लाग्छ, फकाउनलाई कति टाइम लाग्छ, एभ्रिथिङ विल बी हियर इन द प्रिपरेसन फेज. सो by these 4 phases, they are almost about to complete the crime, right? Then the 5th one is about the attempt. So attempt as well inchoate offense. So attempt को कुरा गर्दाखेरि फेरि यही कुरा हुन्छ अघि सिंगल इन्टरप्राइजमा भने जस्तो unequivocal हुनु पर्यो. त्यहाँ अरु अप्सन हुनु भएन. It should be attempt. Attempt mean simply we can say it is unsuccessful commission, or it is not yet successful. यदि सक्सेस भइदिएको भए यो के हुन्थ्यो त commission, right? So these are the phases. So in the single enterprise, we can see from intention, then preparation, attempt, or commission. Whereas in group enterprise, we can see from the incitement. Incitement जहिले हुनै पर्छ भन्ने छैन. The group enterprise मा कहाँबाट चाहिँ सुरु हुन्छ त conspiracy बाट चाहिँ सुरु हुन्छ. So incitement नहुँदाखेरि पनि that is group enterprise. But if there is incitement, then incitement को आफ्नो liability अथवा आफ्नो तरिकाको responsibility हुन्छ नै. Well, so when we talk about these 2 phases, right? Your phases को कुरा गर्दाखेरि we simply need to remember we simply need to remember the phases कि single enterprise मा चाहिँ चारवटा मजाले फेज यही देखायो यो चारवटा फेजेसमा अटेम्प्ट नभएसम्म यसको लाइबिलिटी जेनेरेट हुँदैन तर वेयर एज इन केस अफ द इन्साइटमेन्ट इन केस अफ द ग्रुप इन्टरप्राइज इट टर्न्स फ्रम द इन्साइटमेन्ट फेजबाट नै के जेनेरेट हुन्छ त लाइबिलिटिजहरू जेनेरेट हुन्छ एन्ड इट इज एज पर आवर क्रिमिनल कोड सो क्रिमिनल कोडले के गर्यो भने वी क्यान सिम्पली सी द सेक्सन 185 of criminal code which said that even incitement to commit suicide is a crime. So inciting afaima ke ho ta crime commission ho. In the same way we can see it in the principal part of the criminal code as well. Just le chai incite garnu, conspiracy garnu, attempt garnu afaima criminal liability huncha bhanera explain gariyeko cha. Well, now after these things, so we talk about mens rea, we talk about actus reus, we talk slightly about the general defense. We also said that when there is mens rea and actus reus minus general defense, then it will be crime bhanera कुरा गरेका छौं भने in every crimes there should be relative liability अनि यो phases हुन्छ नै भन्ने कुरा हुँदैन. So there are some exceptions where there is no phases. Yet, phases of crime is one of the very crucial and important thing to describe a relative liability, but yet there are some exceptions. The exceptions ko kura garदाखेरि these things can be regarded to be the exceptions. So provocation ma there is an instant के हुन्छ त instant rage हुन्छ एकैचोटी ट्याक्कुटै रिस उठेको हुन्छ. So somebody is provoking and then instantly somebody is making a reaction. So let's not confuse it with the incitement. Okay, incitement or provocation ma we should not be confused. It is the exception for the phases of crime. Incitement afaima phase of crime ko euta element ho. Simply we can understand incitement कसले गर्छ त यसले यसलाई crime commit गर्न victim को हुन्छ अरु कोही हुन्छ right victim अरु कोही हुन्छ यसलाई victimize गर्न यसलाई motivate गर्छ. This is incitement. Provocation मा के हुन्छ त he and he A र B छ A ले B लाई केही भन्यो र त्यसकै रेजमा A ले B लाई अट्याक गरेको छ. Look, here is a third person, here is no third person. So provocation र incitement फरक छ. Incitement is one of the part of the phases of crime, but whereas provocation भयो त it is exception of phases of crime. Provocation गर्दाखेरि सोचेर प्लान गरेर मजाले प्रिपेयर गरेर गरिदैन. So provocation offense मा attempt हुन्छ त भन्दाखेरि it can be simply we can say is that phases नै हुँदैन भने attempt मा लगेर जोडिदैन. Provoked भएको अवस्थामा it can be जस्तो hurt नै गरेको हुन सक्छ but homicide नहुन सक्छ, right? Now next thing is about the recklessness. If you remember, then we said that it is about the consequence. मान्छेलाई के थाहा छ त consequence थाहा छ. The person is aware about the consequence, but yet he or she think that he or she can avoid it. So जब मान्छेले म अभोइड गर्न सक्छु भन्ने सोचिरहेको छ त्यहाँ फेजेस हुँदैन भनेको इन्टेन्सन क्रिएट गर्ने or अटेम्प्ट गर्ने भन्ने हुँदैन. मैले सकेको स्पिडमा गाडी हाकिराखेको छु मान्छेलाई धन्नले छोएन भनेर अटेम्प्ट टु होमिसाइड हुँदैन. So there will not be phases. So this is the reckless. The very same thing happened with the negligence as well. So in the standard of care as well, the person will not be aware or will not be making plans or will not be having a conspiracy. So negligence ko haqma pani phases of crime huँदैन. Next thing about the habitual criminals. Habitual criminals ko कुरा गर्दाखेरि it's funny, but yet कसैलाई राम्रो कुरा देख्यो भने लगुम लाग्छ. के पनि भनिन्छ भने habitual criminals are not thinking about the precious or wealthy matters, but rather a beautiful matter. जस्तो कसैलाई केही कुरा राम्रो लाग्छ भने उले लगिहाल्छ. Simply, I really like this pen, so after the completion of this class, म सुरु pen लग्छु भने that can be a habitual criminal. Meaning that I love pens, so pen कति रुपैयाँ जानेसँग सरकार भएन, पेनसँग सरकार भयो. This is a habitual criminal. So habitual criminals हरुले के गर्दैनन् त म यस्तो गर्छु अनि त्यसपछि यहाँ जान्छु म सुपरमार्केट जान्छु टक्क हेर्छु अनि त्यसपछि राम्रो कुरा छान्छु अनि चोर्छु भन्ने सोचिरहँदैन. So this is about the habitual criminal, which is exception. Next thing is about the occasional criminals. So similar can be with the habitual, but yet occasional मा चाहिँ के हुन्छ त टाइम र प्लेस र सिचुएसनले उलाई क्राइम कमिट गर्न तारतम्यता मिलाइदिएको भनौँ न द वान इज एक्चुली कमिटिङ क्राइम बिकज द सिचुएसन इज फेभरेबल टु हिम हर यताउति हेऱ्यो कोही छैन टप्पको टिपेर लगिदियो द्याट इज ओकेजनल क्रिमिनल्स सो ओकेजनल क्रिमिनल्स अथवा ओकेजनल क्राइममा पनि के हुँदैन त फेजेस अफ क्राइम्स हुँदैन इट इज द्याट दिज आर द एक्सेप्सन्स वी क्यान फाइन्ड मेनी अदर एज वेल बट फर टुडे सिम्पली रिभाइज गर्नु पर्दाखेरि वी टक अबाउट एक्सेप्सन्स भन्दा अगाडि वी टक अबाउट द we talk about the phases ko kura garदाखेरि we divided into two one is single enterprise and another is group enterprise so group enterprise ko exceptions haruko kura गरिसकेपछि let's see the few cases जस्तो यो प्रेम भन्ने शङ्कर बिकोको केस this case is very perfectly exemplifying the phases of crime in this very case you can simply see how the categorization is made is it a conspiracy or it is a preparation or it is attempt or it is commission of the crime जो चारवटा फेजेसहरूलाई यो केसले एकदमै मजाले डिस्क्राइब गरेको छ अब अर्को छ देवेन्द्र पुरा सैनीको केस र one more case we do have is about the अभिषेक कोइराला in these two cases we can simply see how the mens rea is playing the role so in absence of mens rea can the act be stated to be crime or not we also have a principle जुन principle चाहिँ basically relative liability सँग related छ act and mens rea should be together for the purpose of being a crime in absence of mens rea or in absence of act it will not be regarded to be crime भन्ने जुन हाम्रो basic principle छ त्यो principle नै relative liability को so in conclusion we can say that if we have to think about the crime then crime should always be with mens rea plus actus reus and mens rea र actus reus यो दुवै कुरा हुनुपर्छ भन्ने नै relative liability को major crux हो so there are some exception नहुने होइन तर when we talk about the relative liability generates when somebody do something or not do something with mens rea and with actus reus and there should not be general defense यदि जेनरल डिफेन्स भयो भने त्यो क्राइम हुँदैन यदि जेनरल डिफेन्स भएन त्यो गर्नु हुँदैन थियो लले प्रोहिबिट गरेको छ भने इट विल बी टर्निङ टु बी द क्राइम एन्ड इट इज अबाउट द रिलेटिभ लायबिलिटी So this much about the relative liability. We still have strict liability, vicarious liability, or inchoate liability. If references are good enough, then we will be continuing for another hour sessions.